If you're hiring sales reps the way everyone else does, it's costing you tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm gonna prove it to you. But not only am I gonna prove it to you, I'm gonna give you the framework I use in my company, profitably hire sales reps that can win a championship for your company. My name is Will Hinkson. I own a business called Hardly Selling, and after helping hundreds of companies build remote sales teams that actually perform, I'm gonna show you the exact system that takes hiring from this crazy, risky gamble on a new sales rep to someone who can predictably drive profit. At the end, you'll be able to see why 90% of business owners are hiring from the wrong talent pool, the 3-step evaluation process that filters out weak performers before they cost you money, and the character assessment that predicts success with 80 to 90% accuracy. But first, let me show you exactly how much money you're losing with bad hires and why the math on great hires will change everything about how you think about sales compensation. Here's a real-world example from an audit of a company I just did at Hardly Selling. Here's the stats. They were selling a $10,000 program. They're collecting 30% of cash up front. The show rate was 50%, and their current sales reps were closing at 22%. The last thing to know here is it was $400 per booked call advertising on Meta, which means it's roughly 10 booked calls to equal 1 sale. $400 per booked call, 10 calls, $4,000 cost to acquire a client. Now put another way, they're paying $4,000 to acquire a client who's only returning them $3,000 because we're only collecting 30% of cash up front. So they are negative acquisition costs the first month, which equals a cash ROAS of 0.75, not even a 1, and a revenue ROAS of 2.5, which you might look at and say, hey, we'll make up for that in additional months. But let's look at a different scenario, selling a $10,000 program and collecting 30% of cash up front, show rates 50%, new sales rep closes at 30% instead of the old close rate. And it's the same cost for a booked call. Now I only need 7 booked calls with the same show rate of 50% to equal 1 sale. 7 times $400 per booked call, $2,800 per sale, or a cash ROAS of 1.07 and a revenue of 3.57. Let's put in someone who can close at a 30% into that same scenario. Roughly 5 showed calls to 1 sale. This is dramatically different in profitability each month and lets you spit off cash to grow the business. Now, watch what happens with a performer. Same 10K in ad spend, but instead of 2 closes at 25%, you get 4 closes at 40%. Your gross profit literally doubles. This isn't theory, this is the difference between struggling and scaling. So why do most business owners keep reps that underperform? It's not lack of good talent. It's not untrainable people. It's not even lead quality. There are 3 specific things that separate companies with world-class sales teams from those consistently cycling through mediocre performers. Here's something that may sound counterintuitive, but high-ticket sales reps who started in high-ticket rarely produce great results. And I know that sounds backwards, but here's why. They've invested thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars into sales training. They've worked hard, they put in the effort, been told they're doing really well, going through their training. Then they get released onto your calls that cost $300 to $500 to book, and they're learning how to apply sales frameworks in real time on your dime. And most reps that get brought in fall into one of 2 problematic types. A, either someone who thinks a business owner owes them something, doesn't put in the work, or B, someone with a high work ethic, but they just aren't grasping the basic concepts of how to have a decent sales conversation. And dude, the way they show up on calls is low confidence and low energy, which is absolutely killing your deals. Here's how I do it differently in every company I help to run. I stopped looking in the high ticket world for sales reps. They all kind of come through the same 5 high ticket sales trainings. I look for people who've sold in person, high volume sales. Now, why would I look outside of the high ticket world for high ticket closers? So think about this. Fitness sales has 10 to 20 conversations every day. Door-to-door sales deals with constant rejection, slamming in the face, talks to sometimes 100 people in one day. Do you think you'll have more or less success if you've been successful at sales in an industry with high volume, in-person appointments, while having a sales manager constantly breathing down your neck? It's harder. And I want someone who cut their teeth having hundreds or sometimes thousands of sales conversations on somebody else's dime where they're not paying as much. This teaches you 2 things. 2 things that you really can't learn in a course: resilience and real-world experience. You can read about sales all day and still suck at sales, but combine training with real-world experience, that's the recipe for success. I also look for people who have had sales managers, hit quotas, worked referrals, and understand that every single lead assigned to them needs to be worked and hit numbers and make money. And here's the way that most companies do this. So how do most companies go about finding a good sales rep? Well, most companies post a job and hope for the best. We run candidates through a true selection process designed to filter out all of the weak performers before they ever touch one of the calls that we paid for. Here's the first filter: one-way video interview. We pre-record all the questions, they respond on video. Why would responding on video be different than just responding in a questionnaire or an application? It's because you can see how they present themselves. And if somebody's nervous interviewing for a job, there's a high likelihood that they're gonna be nervous when they get on a call with the prospects you're paying to put on their calendar. The next step in this is a character assessment. We took 100 high-performing sales reps, we analyzed their work, their motivations, their frustrations, their worldviews, and we created a personality assessment. Is it perfect? No. No one stage in any hiring process is perfect, but it is 80 to 90% accurate for predicting that somebody has the attributes and character to show up and successfully crush their sales role. They get a score out of 10 on that assessment, and then what happens from there? Well, if you score 8 or above, you move forward. 7 or below, automatic filter out. Then from there, we have a small group interview with anybody past the assessment, where it's 8 candidates max. We assess how they show up, their character, their work ethic, their experience, and their sales approach. From there, the people that pass the small group interview, they get sent to a one-on-one interview with a recruiter who all they do is interview sales reps because they've been a good sales reps and actually know what they're looking for. And in addition to skill set, can dive deeper into the candidate's character and experience. If they've passed that, the final step in this is to role play to assess actual skill. If this sounds like a lot of steps, it is, but let me tell you where it comes from. I spent 10 years in the special operations community before I started my first company, and every special operations community has their version of selection. In the Marine Corps, where I was, it starts with Recon Indoctrination Platoon, or RIP. My RIP class had about 60 of us that started. 3 months later, 9 of us actually went to the selection course. That course, which is called ARS, back then was, picked up with 78 candidates. We had 18 of us that graduated. So if you're doing the math at home, it's 18 graduates out of a total of 138 candidates that started. This is what creates a high filtering process to be able to pick out your highest performers. Your best source of referrals is going to come from your existing high performers because they want to be around other high performers. Good sales reps know good sales reps. But next, you have to start to pull from a wide net, Indeed, LinkedIn, and then run them through your evaluation system. This process requires volume. You're filtering aggressively because, I don't know about you, but I'd rather pass on mediocre candidates than hire one who costs $50,000 in missed opportunities. And look, if you've been listening to sales calls thinking, I could have closed that person myself, it's frustrating because you know what's possible, you know what they're missing, but you know you can't be on every single call. And I totally get it. I've been in the same position. It's why I built this recruitment process to begin with. Because running a previous company, I had 127 sales reps that were working for me. I was getting frustrated hearing the same reps making the same mistakes week over week. And I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. Certain accounts that they were going on, things that they were selling, they just weren't cutting it. They didn't have the character or the intelligence, either emotional intelligence or real intelligence, to actually perform in sales. This isn't just about hiring. It's about whether your business scales and keeps growing or stays stuck. Every bad hire costs you 6 to 12 months of opportunity cost, thousands of dollars in training, and the mental energy that could have been focused on growth. So here's what to do if you want to switch this. Number 1, stop posting for experienced high-ticket closers. Start hunting fitness, door-to-door, and high-volume in-person sales backgrounds who want a better working environment. Set up one-way video interviews, create your character assessment questions, design your role play scenarios, and run every candidate through all 5 phases. And I get it, like, yes, it is more work up front, but it saves months of headaches. And finding great talent is kind of just half the battle. The other half is how you onboard them. It's going to determine whether they succeed or fail inside of your system. And I'm going to shoot another video. We'll link it either in the description or the first comment down below. Make sure to check that out. Or if you're listening on audio, we'll have another podcast here. Here's the perspective shift that changes everything. Stop thinking of sales hiring as an expense and start thinking about it as one of the highest ROI investments in your business. A great sales rep doesn't just close more. They compound. They refer other great reps. They improve your process. They become trainers for future hires. They turn your sales department from a cost center into a high-performing championship team that is a profit multiplier. The real question isn't, can I afford to spend time in this process? It's, can I afford not to? Every month you operate with underperforming sales reps is a month your competitors with better systems are pulling ahead of you. And now if you're looking at this thinking, that's a lot of work, you're absolutely right. It is a lot of work to get a good sales rep not only selected, but properly ramped up for success. You really have three options. Do this yourself, following the process I just laid out. Keep doing it the way you were doing it, or have somebody else handle it for you. Hardly Selling, we have a full-time recruiting department that runs this entire process for our clients. We help them find the talent, run them through the gauntlet, and deliver your candidates ready to perform, as well as take them through a 2-week onboarding process that's one of the most in-depth in the industry. If you're interested in learning more about this, it's linked somewhere in the description, the first comment below. But regardless of what path you choose, I want to hear from you in the comments. What's been your biggest challenge with sales hiring? Have you experienced the expensive lesson of a bad hire? And if this system helps you find your next top performer, come back and let us know the results. And I'll link again someplace inside of the description where I break down the exact 2-week onboarding process that turns great candidates into revenue generating machines. Because hiring the right person is only half the battle. Setting them up for success is where the real magic happens. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully this is beneficial. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video where we dive deep into the onboarding system that ensures your new hires actually perform from day one.